Hi, my name's Marion Rose and I'd love to ask you a question. Have you ever been asking your child to stop doing something that they're doing, or to do something that you really want them to do that's really important to you, like brushing their teeth, and they haven't cooperated and you found yourself feeling so incredibly frustrated and powerless that you've either just kind of given up and just kind of given up on what's really important to you and just kind of withdrawn and got resentful and kind of got spaced out and just blah, or gone to the other extreme and felt so frustrated and powerless that you've actually used power over them. You've got a little bit harsh or a bit shouty, or you've used threats, subtle or not, or you've used punishments, subtle or not, or you've used in some way your greater power to make them do that thing or to stop them doing that thing. And if so, I wonder how you felt afterwards. Did you get guilty? Did you punish yourself? Did you feel shame? And did any of that actually help you to stop yourself from doing that another time? So my passion is about encouraging, inspiring, supporting mothers to reclaim their power as mothers. And this is so relevant to this exact example because actually it's times where we feel most powerless that we're most likely to either disconnect and dissociate and just kind of withdraw from our children, which actually isn't helpful for them, or we're likely to move into resorting to power over and to do one of those things that actually we end up feeling really afterwards because we just feel so desperate to get them to do what we want them to do or to stop doing what it is that they're doing. And I'd love to help you understand, if you're curious about that or you would like to understand what's actually going on there and what you can do to make things different. So I see this on a bigger, much bigger picture. So I like to go out to the bigger picture and then to come back into tangible things that you can do. So going out to the bigger picture, let's look at the history of Western civilization for the past about 3,000 years. Now that's really been a domination culture. It's really been based on a system where certain people had power over other people who had power over other people, and usually pretty low down that power hierarchy were women, mothers, and even lower usually down that hierarchy were children. And the main way that system worked was through mechanisms like guilt and shame and punishment and threats and harshness and making them do things and violence right at the end of that. Those are all ways to actually to use force to create power over, to get the people with less power to do the things that the people with more power wanted. And really that paradigm is still has so many vestiges in our culture right now. But we can all see probably, can't we, that it actually hasn't really worked. It's had a really good run and it's really proven to actually not be very effectual, because what happens is there's this constant state of power over and powerlessness, and both of them actually feel really uncomfortable. It doesn't actually lead to harmony and power with. And why do I talk about this cultural history? Well, it's because I think there are two reasons why we will tend to have those experiences of extreme frustration and powerlessness where we end up doing the or the and those are the two things are, one is those cultural beliefs that we've had for those thousands of years that that women don't have power, that mothers don't have power. And actually, even though it seems like we live in this really modern world with super fast internet and iPhones and da-di-da-di-da, we actually are still so much living with those beliefs about women and mothers, that mothers don't have needs, that we don't have power. And actually, that's actually still visible in the world. You know, women in so many countries have only actually quite recently been able to vote. And of course, there are still many countries where women really don't have rights or choices at all. So that's one piece, it's those historical ways of being that actually are still embedded in us as beliefs, as ways of thinking, which actually still influence us now, even as modern women. And the other is that, of course, because we've grown up in that paradigm, we've had often many experiences of powerlessness when we were babies, children, teenagers. And we may have had fewer or more of those, depending on, for example, how it was as a teenager. Did our parents use authoritarian discipline on us? Did we have much choice? What kind of school did we go to? Did we actually have much choice about what we did there? How was our birth and that early postnatal period? Did we get taken away from our mother? Did we our basic desires and needs for connection and to be heard, were they listened to? And what can happen is then these experiences they're sitting there unhealed. And what usually happens in the moment when our child's not listening to us or doing things that we don't want them to do, or we're asking them to do something and they're still just not doing that thing, is we get reminded of those, I call them powerlessness sweet spots. So they're feeling memories that we had when we were 0 or 2 or 7 or 15 or 23, when we felt extreme powerlessness. And powerlessness is one of the most uncomfortable feelings, if you've ever explored it before, because power is so essential to our sense of self. Having an individual self means that we make a difference in the world, that we impact on the world, that we have choice. And when we're powerless, especially when we're little, it can kind of feel like we don't exist. It's a very, very, very painful, uncomfortable feeling to sit with. So what happens in the moment, we're actually the parent, we're asking our child to do something, but we go down the tunnel down into this memory where actually it feels like right in this moment we're 2, and our child is perhaps the parent or the teacher or the doctor, and we are just wanting to avoid that powerlessness, so we use power over. The beautiful thing is that we can actually do something about these two things. We can start to shift those beliefs that have been passed down from generation upon generation about what power actually is, and we can also heal from those sweet spots. So I'd love to talk a little bit about each of those to see whether those are things that you might like to do. So for example, beliefs about power. If you think about power, what images come up to you? What kind of words do you resonate with? What do you see? Because for me, exploring this over the last several years, I've really seen that power actually is the really simple things. The capacity to make choices, the capacity to make a difference, just doing something and seeing that it has a response or reaction, that we have an impact on the world. These really, really basic things are what power is. And even from right when we're newborns, when we smile and someone smiles back at us, that is, from this sense, that's a sense of power, because we're seeing that our actions have an impact on someone else and they react in response to that. There's connection. Power in this new paradigm is all about connection. And we can really shift those old ways of thinking about power. Power can, rather than being that power over paradigm where there was the king and the noblemen and the men under that and then the mothers and then the children, then the animals probably, that actually power is something that we can make daily choices to connect with. Even in really simple things like, what does my body actually want to have for breakfast this morning? What do I want to wear? How do I want to respond to my child? How do I want to respond to my partner or my friend? What's important to me? Those kind of simple things, choice is intimately connected with power. So we can start creating shifts in those beliefs and start to see power in a very new light, in a way that we can really claim for ourselves. And on the other side, those sweet spots, the beautiful thing is about those is that we can actually heal those sweet spots. Every single time we go back into, I feel incredibly powerless right now, we can actually we have the courage, because it takes quite a bit to actually go back there and to actually bring what we really needed at the time, which is to be really heard, to have our feelings expressed, to have our thoughts expressed, to be really heard and met in that, is bit by bit, each time we hear that, we can actually heal from those powerlessness sweet spots. And the beauty is that the more we shift these, the more likely it is that we're not going to have those kinds of reactions to our children, because of course, as the next generation, they are being affected by how we treat them. And that's not to invite you to go into guilt, shame, punishment, because again, that's the old paradigm. Self-compassion is the most important piece. The beauty is the more we heal from our sweet spots, the less likely they're going to be stroked when our child doesn't do what we want. And the more likely too that we're also going to be able to use these tangible ways of connecting with power in the moment. Yes, I know I feel powerless, but actually I do have power. I have choice. I can make these choices. You have tangible tools to feel power in your body when you're with your child, so that you don't feel so powerless that you resort to power over. And of course the beauty is then they have fewer of those experiences of feeling powerless, because children respond in the same way as us. When they feel powerless, that's also when they act in power over ways, when they do things like not listen or hit their sister or throw things or hit or bite or don't cooperate. They are actually also resorting to power over, probably because they're actually feeling powerless in that moment too. And again, this isn't to feel guilty, this is actually to understand what's going on for them, and to know that just as we can help ourselves, we can actually help them. We probably have more capacity to do that even, which is, first of all, understanding that they're doing that, which makes a whole lot of difference, rather than us getting into all kinds of unhelpful thoughts about why they might be doing that. We can understand, actually, they're probably feeling quite powerless and disconnected right now. So we can do things just as we're doing here. We can, just with these two pieces, we can help them feel powerful in their lives, not in a power over way, but just in giving them choices, helping them listen to their bodies, wherever is possible and works for the family, letting them have choices about what they do, and also helping them heal from those powerlessness sweet spots. And that may be through laughter. Laughter is a great way to heal from powerlessness. It may be through listening to their crying, because crying is another great way to listen and heal from powerlessness. So we can actually help them. We can, and even straight after if we have resorted to power over, we can heal. We can actually reconnect after that through acknowledging what we've done. We can play a power reversal game, so we can, if we've been loud and shouty, we can invite them to be kind of loud and we pretend to be scared and run away, and they can laugh about that. Whenever they're laughing, they're healing from that sense of fear and powerlessness, which means they're less likely then to go and hit their sister. So we have these amazing tools to help them heal. And the beautiful thing is, the more we're doing these two pieces in ourselves, shifting the beliefs, finding power in our everyday lives, and healing from our own powerlessness sweet spots, the more we can do that for our children. Because of course, if we haven't connected to our own authentic power, it's going to be very hard for us to do these things, to give them choice. If we have an experience of we don't have any choice in life, it's going to be really hard to give them choices. But if we're giving ourselves that experience of choice, we can give that to them. And the same too, if we haven't actually gone in and listened to some of our own powerlessness places, it's going to be very hard to actually let ourselves hear the powerlessness that they feel. So the more we do this, the more we can meet them there and hear them and help them heal. So it's this beautiful parallel process of parenting, I call it, where not only are we shifting core beliefs and healing, but we're helping them with these new beliefs about power and helping them heal, so that we can have this beautiful power with relationship. I talk about this infinity loop, where neither one or the other is having power over, but we're having power with. And of course, as that adults, we will generally have more experience and more knowledge about certain things, and we can own that in helpful, important ways. But they also have resources that we usually have less access to. They often have more access to to aliveness in their body, which is also power, to kind of knowing what they really need and being clear about that, which often we've learned to hide and repress. So there are ways which they also have gifts and power that they can share with us, so we can actually gain from each other's power, rather than it being like the old paradigm. It was basically fighting, power against power, and fighting, and someone's going to lose. This new paradigm is about connection through power. And I actually think this is one of the most important things we can do as mothers, because, and to help you see how powerful this is, because we'll often talk about in the many olden days that mothers were seen as the givers of life. We were revered and honoured and really seen as these sacred beings, and we lost that along the way. And actually, when we really reclaim our own authentic power, which isn't power over, not power in that old paradigm sense, but really our capacity to make a difference in the world, and to make a difference to our children's lives and to our friends and partners and others, that we are actually doing that. We're resacralizing motherhood in very, very tangible ways in our own lives. And what an amazing gift that is, not only for ourselves, but to our children, for our daughters to actually see that modelled, and for our sons to see what that's like, so that they find that way of relating to the powerful feminine and find ways of being in that powerful masculine place. And I actually think that's so important too, because we are shaping the next generation. Of course, their dads have an influence too, and the wider culture, but we have a very profound influence. And bringing up children who have more of a sense of this authentic power, who have less of those old ways of power over, less powerlessness sweet spots, less sense of needing to have power over in order to get choice. What a difference that makes. What a difference that makes in the world, to actually have more and more individuals out there who actually know how to connect in power, who know their own capacity to make a difference, to make choices, and really to impact the world in helpful ways. What a beautiful gift that is. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have, I wonder if you might be interested in having a look at my website, marianrose.net, where I have more articles on this whole theme. And I also have a 4-week online course which really goes into all of these things in much more depth. So we really look at practical, tangible ways where you can have power practices to actually reconnect with power in your body on a day-to-day basis, whilst you're doing all the things that you need to do as a mother. Those can be really, really helpful and important. I will take you through what I call the power portal process, which is a way of healing those powerlessness sweet spots, actually going in and listening to them and healing them, so that they're less and less likely to get stroked when our child doesn't listen to us. And as we move on from those, and we really start to connect with that authentic sense of power and different beliefs about power, then the course actually talks also about really tangible, practical ways that you can help your children both feel that authentic power, but also to heal from any of their own experiences of powerlessness, and how to respond to them, so that they really stay connected to that true power that they have in their bodies, and in ways that are really respectful and have power with. So if you'd like to, or you're interested to find out more about that, you can find out more below. And I so loved running this course in previous times. Some of the feedback from some of the mothers, some have said really that it's been life-changing, and that they've really understood why they've had the reactions they've had in their lives with their children, partners, other people at work, and help them to actually have really tangible ways in the moment of being much less likely to resort to those power over ways, which always feels so uncomfortable, and actually just knowing strategies and ways to actually connect with our children when they're in those kind of states themselves. So it's been so lovely to read that feedback, and that's why I'm really happy to offer this to you, because I know if this is important to you, and if you're willing to engage with this process, this really can make a difference in your life. And if you're not interested in the course, I do hope that you've gone away with something from listening to this, maybe a different way of thinking about power, maybe some more self-compassion for those times where you maybe have used power over, maybe some ideas about helping your child heal from powerlessness, sweet spots, or maybe even understanding why they sometimes act in those power over ways. And I just really want to celebrate all that you're doing as a mother. I think you're doing an incredible job. It's not an easy task, as we do this parallel process of aiming to give our children all that we can whilst also doing our own healing and growing and evolving. So it's a wonderful thing. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the gift of your presence, and if you're interested in joining the course and you do come and join in, I'd love to see you there. So thanks so much and lots of love.